Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Spring. You're highly welcome if you are new on this channel. And if you're a regular listener, you're also very highly welcome. So, today we have a very interesting topic that you would definitely want to listen to. But make sure you have subscribed to this channel if you haven't, like our videos, and please share them, so that somebody out there will be blessed by our videos. So let's go into what we have for today. Our topic for today is recovering from disappointment. And our text is taken from Ruth chapter 1 from verse 3 to 16. Now, it's a very long reading. I wouldn't want to, take time to start going through it, but I'm going to summarize the story. Now, we all know the story of Ruth who got married to Boaz. Boaz who was the father of JC, and JC the father, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of JC, and then JC the father of David. Now, Ruth was the daughter-in-law, a Moabite, who got married to the son of Naomi. And the Bible said that Naomi and her husband moved to the land of the Moabite, to build their family there. And they had two sons. And while they were there, Naomi's husband died. And then her sons later got married. Her two sons got married. One got married to Ruth and the other got married to Orpah. And after 10 years of their marriage, without any child, the both sons died. And then later on, Naomi heard, that God was now providing food in the land of the Jews, because that was actually what even made them to live in the first place, because of the famine and everything. But at this point, God was providing food, in the land of the Jews. So Naomi decided, okay, there's nothing here for me anymore, so let me leave the land of Moabite and go back to where I'm actually coming from. And initially, she decided to go with her two widow daughter-in-laws. But in the process of going, she probably thought about it and was like, okay, I don't have any sons again. My sons are dead. They are still young. They can still get married. So why bother taking them rather than letting them stay back and find another husband? So she prayed for them, she blessed them and told them, you can stay back, you don't have to follow me. I bless you and I pray you're going to find good husbands. And that was it. But when she did that, the both ladies, refused staying back. And Naomi kept arguing and was like, what is the purpose of you following me? It's not as if I can give birth to any son now again at my old age. I can't even get married again. Even if I get married and give birth to another son, will you wait for him to grow and, before you marry him and all that? So it was a back and forth something. And then at the end of the day, Orpah decided to go back to her family. But Ruth decided not to go. Now, this is where it becomes even more interesting. This is where my message is. There is a relationship between disappointment and stagnation, waiting or no movement. Every time something fails, there is a tendency for one to remain at the point of failure. The greatest mistake you can ever make in life is deciding to actually remain where you are, at that point of failure. And if you decide to actually remain there, the more disappointment will come. It will keep hitting you. So in the case of Naomi, she did not allow her situation make her remain in her land of disappointment. She didn't decide to stay in her land of disappointment. I call the land of Moabite her land of disappointment because in that land, she lost literally everything. She lost her husband, she lost her two sons, and unfortunately, They did not have any children, so she didn't even have any grandchildren. So she literally lost everything. So even though she wasn't going to get married again, she knew that she had to move, because the more she stayed in Moab, where she lost everything, she would have kept reminding herself of her disappointment, and she would have died earlier because of depression. The mistake Oprah made was deciding to remain in that land of disappointment. You remember, it wasn't just Naomi that lost something precious or was disappointed by life, the way life treated her, but also by her daughter-in-laws, Oprah and Ruth. They lost their husbands at a very young age. I mean, that is a very big disappointment. And then Oprah decided to stay back. Ruth, on the other hand, understood and decided to move with Naomi. There was literally nothing that Naomi would tell her to convince her to stay back. And it was actually really dangerous to stay back. Now, I'm going to give you two major reasons why it was very dangerous for Ruth to stay back. One, it was a land where everyone knew her from her childbirth, where, they knew her as a young widow. So they didn't just know her growing up. They also knew when she got married. They also knew she didn't give birth while she was married. And then they knew that she lost her husband. So the stigmatization will actually be unbearable. It will be so bad if she had remained there. And then the second reason is that the possibility of her getting married again soon was very low. Because by the time people analyze her past situations, they would become scared of marrying her, literally. Literally. If you imagine it in a typical Nigerian sense, they would definitely be scared of getting married to her. Probably if somebody, a young man sees her and he wants to, approach her, and the mother hears of it, she'll be like, is it that young lady that lost her husband? She couldn't even give him a child. No, I don't want that kind of person as a daughter-in-law. That was literally what was going to happen to Ruth if she had stayed back. So she needed a fresh start, and following Naomi was just the best option. If she had gone back to her family, every time she does something wrong, they will definitely remind her of her past situation and even probably blame her for losing her husband. So it was really dangerous for her to go back or remain at the place of her misery. Many people always do two major unhealthy things when they are faced with disappointment, especially we ladies. One of those two things is that we tend to go back to that thing that, actually brought disappointment to us and then choose to manage it. Especially in the case of relationships. A lot of ladies are so desperate that because a certain relationship they hoped for, to lead to marriage failed. Maybe the guy broke up with them, and even them, they can't even understand why the guy broke up with them after they've given him their all, and then all of a sudden he's breaking up with them. They tend to go back to those persons and start begging for them as though their life depends on this guy. And then the second unhealthy thing that, we ladies do whenever we are faced with disappointment is to remain in the state of disappointment, remaining in the state of grief, depression, refusing to make progress from there. I mean, how can you allow yourself to remain in that state? Meanwhile, the person you are grieving over is living his life, or that situation you are grieving over is moving on. Life is going, life is moving on, and you are there stagnating yourself. Why? Because you are disappointed, or you were disappointed by someone or something. Is terrible. Because that relationship you put all your hope in, failed, and the young man broke up with you. Some of you choose to go back to beg him to just manage you as if he's the only man on earth. While some others become so miserable and refuse to let new people come into their life. They start hating men and relationships and even begin to see every man as the same. Oh no, that is so terrible. Now let's look at things to note about disappointment. Things to note about disappointment. The first is that disappointment cripples your future. It makes you live in the now and not to be able to see the possibility of a better future. That is disappointment. It will keep you stagnated in your now. It makes you believe that nothing better can come, and it makes you believe that there is actually nothing better that will ever happen to you in your life. That is how, powerful disappointment can be when we let it. The second thing to note about disappointment is that it is a time killer. It kills time. Disappointment steals your time the more you remain in it. While you're there feeling depressed, oh, I'm disappointed, oh, this, oh, that, you're self-pitying yourself. Time is going. The time that you should have used to develop yourself, achieve something great, do something better with your life, you are busy being disappointed and grieving, and time is literally going. The third thing to note about disappointment is that it makes everyone, everything, or every opportunity look the same, like your failure. It makes you believe that there is no difference between your past failure and the new opportunity standing before you. You will always expect the same result. And this is one thing that makes people to miss out on great privileges, great opportunities, and the opportunity to even meet better people. Why? Because they allow disappointment to configure their mind in such a way that they begin to think that even though any more persons are coming or opportunities come, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same result, and it's not true. The next is that disappointment makes you hopeless and suicidal. It makes you feel like the best option for you at that point is to die because all hope is lost. Now, one thing you should know is that as long as there is life, is a popular, saying, as long as there is life, there's definitely hope. You're not dead, so you cannot be that hopeless. There is always hope if you believe that there is hope and you begin to work out something. But if you fold your hand and just say, oh, you will die, okay, it's just like if you decide to kill yourself because somebody ended up not marrying you. I mean, you end up dying, the person will come for your funeral and then go to marry somebody else who lost you. And then the second to the last point is it makes God looks powerless. Disappointment has many times made people to lose their faith in God and even hate God. I was told of a lady who lost her mom. Her mom died in her hands, and the moment that happened, she got so angry and she started cursing on God and all that. That is what disappointment can do. Then it makes, people feel like there's actually nothing that God can do about that situation, because they feel that if God didn't stop it, then God can't change it. There's nothing God can actually do about it, and that's a lie. The sixth point is it makes people go back to old habits they once abandoned. For example, drinking, smoking, living reckless life. People use bad situations as a yardstick to go back to bad habits, and it's terrible. If you ask them, they'll tell you, I'm trying to drink away my sorrows. I'm trying to this, I'm trying to that. You're only adding fuel to the fire. You cannot correct something that has happened wrongly with more wrong activities. So that is one thing disappointment does. It makes you to go back to your old ways. Now, how can we recover from it? How can you recover from disappointment? I, for one, have had my own fair share of disappointment. So I'm going to be sharing from my personal experience and from what I have studied. Now, the first way for you to recover from disappointment is that you must first understand that life is full of ups and downs. It's never rosy. It's never always rosy. When I was going through my own times of disappointment, I had to remind myself this, that life is not always rosy. It will not always be the way you imagine it to be or you expect it to be. Sometimes some things might just happen that is very unexpected. The second point is that you must also understand that you are not the first to experience that disappointment, neither will you be the last, and that there are people out there going through the same situation and even worse. You're not the only person. Sometimes people feel that because they are going through one disappointment or the other, they feel like it's only them that is happening to. My dear, you are not the only one. We are plenty. Now, the third is that you should also understand that God allows certain things to happen for reasons that we may not be able to understand or comprehend at that moment. But in the end, it's always for our own good. Whether you like it or not, it is the good and bad situations of life that actually shapes us into the person that we have become today, whether you like it or not. They all have a role to play in our lives. Even what you call an attack from the devil, God can still use it and turn it around for your good, even if it wasn't his will or plan for you initially. Now, number 4, hold fast unto God. Only him can truly understand your pain at that point. Ask him to help you. Cry to him. Depend on him solely. Like, if you want to cry, cry. Make sure you are crying in the place of prayer. Don't just be crying on the street. Cry to God. You are free to cry. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to express your emotions. Let him know how you feel. Because truly, it's only God that can really understand how you feel. You might see someone that gets the situation, but most of the time, people cannot really relate with the level of disappointment that you're going through at that point in time. So it's a time to really hold on to God and not a time to start cursing God. I'm telling you. Number 5, while doing number 4, which is holding fast to God, God will lead you to people who have gone through the same path and were able to come out of it. They could be on YouTube videos like this particular one you're listening to right now, your family members, your pastor, mentor, or even a friend, or it could even be a book. It is your contact with each of these persons or things that begins to birth transformation. There was a certain time I was going through a level of disappointment in my life, and I was connected to someone, a man of God, and he helped me during that period. He held me by the hand, and I was able to walk through that season of my life successfully. It didn't break me. If God had not sent that person, I really don't know if I would have come out of that situation successfully. The next point says, stay focused on your progress and don't look back. Looking back has a way of frustrating your progress. If you must successfully recover, forgive yourself. Let go of the past by either deleting the person's number if it was the person that disappointed you, or even blocking the person, maybe on social media. Like, it might sound rude, but sometimes for your own mental health, some of these things are very, very necessary. So forget about it being rude now. Also, you can change location if possible, or leave your workplace, or whatever that situation might have been. If it's something you can leave, just leave. Then believe it's not the end of the world and continue to learn from others while you depend on God as you make progress. Don't look back. Don't be Lot's wife. Don't look back. Don't start thinking, should I call this person again? The same person that destroyed your heart? Should I go back to that situation? No, don't go back. Move forward. Disconnect whatever connection that you have with that disappointment and just be moving forward. The only way you can truly, come out of disappointment is by moving forward and not going back. Even the Bible said forward ever and backward never. So look forward, don't go backwards. Now let's look at some of the things that will happen to you while you recover. Now, I actually discovered this personally for myself, and I believe it's what will happen to you while you go on your journey of recovery. So what are those things that will happen to you while you recover? The first is the temptation to go back to forsaken habits will come, but you must resist the urge. Let's look at Ruth chapter 1 verse 15. It says, "Look," said Naomi, "your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her." Now, when I read that scripture, I was like, huh? She's not just going back to her people. That's upper. She's not just going back to her people. She's going back to her gods. After experiencing the God of the Jews, you still want to go and worship nonsense God? That's you going back. So the temptation to always go back to old habits, things that you forsook a long time ago. It is that season of disappointment that, the urge to start relying on those habits again, to go back to them, they will definitely come. And you should try as much as possible to avoid it, because if you start it, you might find it difficult to stop. Another thing that will happen to you is that God will begin to unveil some certain things about yourself, your destiny to you. This personally happened to me. It was in my season of disappointment and depression that God started speaking to me about, doing voiceovers, writing some certain books, doing a podcast, which I'm currently doing now. And I was like, okay, I didn't even know I was going to do some of these things in my life. There was clarity about some of the things that God wanted me to do in life, my purpose and everything. And all this happened in my season of disappointment. So while you are busy feeling disappointed, God is actually seeing an opportunity to call you up here and begin to show you things about your destiny. The third thing that will happen is that God will also send people or things that, will hold you by the hands to walk you through that season of your life. I already mentioned it earlier. And then the fourth is that directions and instructions will come through dreams, visions, and those persons or things God sent your way to help you. Oh, you're going to have a lot of dreams. You're going to have a lot of visions. You're going to have a lot of encounters during your season of disappointment, because it's actually a state of your brokenness. So God likes it when you are so, humbled and broken. That is the time God likes to come and begin to tell us very interesting things about our destinies. Even if you're never ready to listen to it, that is actually the time He would like to come, because it's actually the best time for you to receive it and begin to work on it, to channel that your pain towards your destiny. The fifth, which is the last, is that you might be tempted to jump into the next available opportunity you see without properly healing from the last. For example, those of you that, were disappointed by a young man, who broke your heart and he destroyed your relationship. It is not a time for you to jump into another relationship immediately, because the temptation to move to a next relationship will come as you recover. In fact, that is even when more guys will even start locating you. And it's very dangerous for you to be thinking of another relationship when you just, came out of a painful one and you are still trying to heal. So avoid jumping into the next relationship. Allow yourself to heal. Avoid just jumping, give yourself time, work on yourself, and then make your progress. So my message recommendation is: what you should never do when faced with a negative situation. What you should never do when faced with a negative situation, by Pastor Jerry Easy. You would see it on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. Just type these words I just read out: what you should never do when faced with a negative situation. It's a short message, but very, very powerful. Please do well to listen to it. Thank you so much, for staying with us till the end. I hope you were blessed by this message, and I know you will be blessed even more when you listen to the recommended message. Do well to like our video, share our video, and subscribe to this channel, because I will really appreciate it. I remain your humble host, Praise Do. Have a wonderful time.